Today, we take a closer look at a veterinarian whose work goes far beyond the clinic. Widely known as Doc GAB, Dr. Glenn Albert G. Almera is changing how animal healthcare reaches Filipino communities. Through low-cost kapon, accessible veterinary services, and strong partnerships with local government units and animal welfare groups, he and his team are helping address one of the country's most urgent animal welfare challenges, the overpopulation of companion animals. This is the story of advocacy, collaboration, and service in action. I'm Rochelle Rubio, and this is The Advocates, Empowering Voices. Widely known as Doc GAB, Dr. Glenn Albert G. Almera is regarded as one of the most recognizable veterinarians in the country today. But beyond the name and the reach is a clear advocacy, making animal health care accessible, affordable, and rooted in community responsibility. Together with his team, Doc GAB travels to communities across the Philippines, working hand in hand with animal welfare groups, individual advocates, and local government units to provide low-cost mascarpone for pet dogs and cats, including strays. These initiatives go beyond population control. They promote responsible pet parenting, not just ownership. At a time when veterinary services are often financially out of reach for many Filipino families, Doc GAB takes a bold and unconventional path. He challenges the norm of high-priced procedures by offering low-cost kapon, ensuring that spaying, neutering, and basic veterinary care are no longer privileges, but attainable necessities.
I'm really popular at this moment because I stopped doing some contents. But based on what I do, I could say that people knows me for the spay and neuter activities. So for everyone, I am Doc GAB, or my full name is Dr. Glenn Albert G. Almera. So I'm a licensed veterinarian, having Pet Partner Philippines as my founded organization. So Pet Partner Philippines revolves around three key pillars of advocacy. First is responsible pet parenting. Basically, it's about teaching pet parents to not just own pets, but to become a parent to them, to provide what they need despite of being a pet, meaning to say they will not be able to provide you anything, because the moment you get a pet, he or she will become your lifetime responsibility. So you need to become a parent to them. Second is accessible and affordable animal health care. In the Philippines, wherein people are less privileged in terms of finances, we need to provide veterinary care in a way that they can access it without damaging their budget or their pockets. Third, we also wanted to promote community collaboration and partnership, because we do believe, I personally believe, that animal welfare is a shared responsibility between the leaders, the community, and private individuals.
For countless pet owners and rescuers, vaccination and neutering strain already limited resources. As founding chairman of Pet Partner, Doc GAB is redefining community-based veterinary care through collaboration, partnership, and a shared commitment to animal welfare. His work shows that sustainable solutions emerge when professionals, communities, and institutions move together toward a common cause. Long before this becomes a social enterprise, Doc GAB is already doing the work as a volunteer. When the pandemic brought lives to a standstill, jobs were lost, and veterinary care became even more inaccessible, he searched for a deeper purpose. What began as service in a time of crisis grew into a mission, and the rest, as they say, is history.
To be honest with you, the community events, it started as not a social enterprise, but a volunteer work. During the time of the peak of the pandemic, when the times were rough, dangerous, and difficult, it was the time when our organization started to be created. Basically, what happened was, during that time, I was looking really for a purpose in life. You know, during the pandemic period, we were reflecting for what we really wanted to happen in our lives. That was the time when I decided to volunteer as a volunteer vet of many community cats in Metro Manila, because that was the time when there were no enough vets in the metro. A lot of them went home para dun sa safety ng pet ng parents nila or ng family nila. So there were very few who left working in Manila. And that time, I found, or our organization, composed of 3 members, found someone who will finance all of the works without getting so much from it. Meaning to say, not much of profit, but continuously giving free kapon during pandemic. So it lasted for more than a year until I found that there's really a need to really sustain the activity and the work, because the demand and the need of the people was really there. And they were clamoring for a continuous activity like that, even at a low cost. So that was the time when I really decided to really put it into a practice and to make it as a social enterprise.
The demand for spaying and neutering companion animals in the Philippines remains urgent. The stray animal population alone is estimated at around 13 million, according to the Philippine Animal Welfare Society. Meanwhile, a report by Cara Welfare Philippines notes that an additional 100,000 to 500,000 stray cats and dogs are added to the streets every year. These numbers provide critical context to DOC GAB's push for low-cost kapon and accessible veterinary care. They show why prevention through spaying and neutering is not just a veterinary concern, but a pressing community and public welfare issue. Today, DOC GAB's team spays and neuters an average of 3,000 dogs and cats every month.
I think I would prefer to tackle this into the definition of the two words, demand and need. Basically, there's always a need to spay and neuter community animals, especially those who are living on the streets. However, the demand depends on the accessibility of the healthcare, especially veterinary care, the affordability of it, and of course, the convenience and safety of the procedure. So I would say there are a lot of factors to consider, including the education of the people about spay and neuter. But to quantify it into number based on our experience, almost every month we are neutering and spaying around 3,000 or more. Basically, that's the number that we currently have, just focusing within Metro Manila and nearby provinces. So I would say it depends definitely on the quality of service that they would be getting from a certain veterinary team that would increase the demand for this kind of service. So we really have to consider three important factors into providing this. It should be accessible, affordable, trusted and quality, and should be convenient for them.
From conducting just one kapon event a day, he expands his teams to reach more communities. This allows them to carry out 3 to 5 community kapon events in a single day, covering more areas and extending much-needed veterinary services to more families, rescuers, and local partners.
We started doing one in a day until we grew up into having multiple teams. In a month, we are doing 100 to 200. In a day, we have usually 3 to 5 events of community kapon.
With so many communities in need of low-cost spay and neuter services, how do DOC GAB and his team plan and execute their community kapon events?
Currently, we really have 3 parameters or bases on when we were and when we should be doing the mass kapon. One thing definitely is the accessibility. We focus mainly here in Metro Manila and nearby provinces because of the land access. But most of the time, one of the defining factor to have the activity conducted in your community is the need. There should be a request from the LGU or from the community, and there should be a partner who should be managing it, because we are based in Quezon City. There should be someone who will be coordinating all the compliances, permits, coordination on that area. Second, there should be this venue, physical activity area where we should conduct it in a way that it is conducive and safe at the same time for the pets and the people. And lastly, there should be a followed up. When you say followed up, a post-surgery assessment where we can see that people are learning, increasing in numbers, and really wanting to have this activity conducted. Because in most cases, some of the activity are initiated or was initiated by organizations, and when there are no longer organizations doing the activity or initiating it, na-stop siya. So it's very important that there are partners on those community that are sustaining the activity, whether we are the partner veterinary clinic or veterinary team or other veterinary team available. Basically, we are the one providing all the compliances and documents. So this serves as the liaison, the one who will go to the offices, but we will provide all the documents because we are the one registered and complied with all the regulations.
DOC GAB explains his team's organizational structure on the ground and the level of coordination required to ensure each operation runs smoothly. Behind every mass kapon event is a month of preparation involving detailed planning, coordination with partners, paperwork, and other essential requirements before execution. Since launching these initiatives, approximately how many animals have been spayed and neutered through the mass kapon events conducted by his team?
Oh, that made me think and the look back years ago. So we started as pro bono team, and I think during that peak of the pandemic, we were able to have thousands of kapon, and right now it doubled, if not tripled. So if my memory serves me right, I would say up to this moment, we already have around 300,000 of kapon already for the last 5 years. For the number of activities or events we are conducting right now, we have an average of around 3,000 per month. It's still a big number for a group like the veterinary team. And to answer the question, our team is composed, one major team, the one who visited the community, is composed of 10 to 12 members. It is divided into two vets, two vet assistants, and the rest is composed of the drivers, the community staff. Those are the one who coordinated with the people, coordinating with the people, and some liaisons also. And it's really a long day of, if not months-long preparation, because usually our preparation starts months in advance. We have to coordinate our calendars based on the holiday schedules, the availability of the people, and of course, the activity of the organizations. Second, after checking the calendar, we have to coordinate to our partners. We have to consider the availability and the availability of the venue. Third, we will go into the compliance. If what are the needed requirements and how long is the time frame before we can get the approval of each community venues that we would like to use. And lastly, we will go through the marketing. We have to inform the people that there is an event coming that will happen on their community. And the most busy or the busiest part of it is the execution. Days before the execution, we will go to the supplies, the inventory, health status of the people, the vehicle that you will use, the transport system, if there are traffics or whatsoever. And lastly, the service doesn't end on the execution itself. It ends when all of the patients we catered recovers fully. Like what I always say, our service doesn't end on the day of the service, but when when the patients, the pets, recover usually 7 days after the event. So we have a post-surgery or post-event assessment that is being supported by our support services staff in the office.
What began as pro bono work eventually led to a single, sustainable path. To keep the advocacy going, it had to evolve into a social enterprise. Even then, it continues to provide significant support for low-income households that want to spay, neuter, and vaccinate their pets, as well as care for the stray animals in their communities.
Hard to sustain something like this. And if you wanted to really help in a long run, it's a marathon. Like what I always say to people, I can offer it for free, but for how long? Resources would be scarce. But if we wanted to really solve the problem, it's more of educating the people through the daily, monthly activities, encouraging people to be part of this. Maybe not with our team, maybe with other veterinary team, but the thing is you are doing the work together with us.
Collaboration continues to strengthen the advocacy. Beyond working with animal welfare groups and individual advocates, DOC GAB and his team also partner with various local government units. Among the most supportive is the San Pedro City Veterinary Office. DOC GAB shares how the San Pedro City vets actively support their community kapon initiatives and how the city manages its stray animal population. He also cites other city veterinary offices and their respective local efforts for animals, emphasizing that the role of city vets goes beyond stray population control.
I always have one edge in mind whenever someone asks who's the kindest and I would say the one who doesn't charge us so big of the permits and they really are doing something for their pets. It's the San Pedro City Vets. They definitely have been our number one supporter since day one. Not only that they don't ask us to pay for the big fees, but they also spay and neuter like what we do. So I always see them as partners. But even other city vets, I would mention some city vets like Bataan, specifically I think that is Iba and San Felipe. There are also some city vets in Parañaque who are also coordinating with us. There are many LGUs who really lack manpower and sees us as part of the team to really solve this problem because city vets really have so much of work. They have the NMIS meat inspection, they have the products in terms of the animal byproducts. They also have poultry, swine, so many things. Isama mo pa dyan yung population control. So it has to be work together with them.
Doc Gab further emphasizes that city veterinary offices are often understaffed, yet the scope of their responsibilities is immense, pointing to the need for greater public understanding.
That's the reason I always explain this to the people whenever we visit different cities, that while the city vets have the responsibility to help you on population control, always remember that there are only very few veterinary staff of a certain city vet office, and their work covers all related to animals.
What has been the biggest Mascapon event handled by Doc Gab and his pet partner team so far, based on the number of dogs and cats spayed and neutered in a single day?
The team is composed of, right now, around 12 veterinarians, and I think 30 to 40 veterinary staff, not including our support services. The recent highest number in one single event, I would say, is together with the NGO Potion Project under Mamalu. So we were able to provide free spay and neuter last vaccination for more than 400 cats and dogs. I couldn't remember the distribution of cats and dogs, the female and males, but that's the highest number in a single event. But in a single day, we were able to do, I think, 1,000 plus, because that happened last November. We had 8 events in one day, and if I totaled all the number of pets we neutered and spayed, we were able to have around, I think, 1,102. We have 4 teams in total, and we have morning and afternoon events. If only I could divide myself into all the teams, but I always assure them that all of our vets are trained, and they went through a very tough skill assessment before doing the surgery. And I could tell you in full confidence that if we are not this good, people wouldn't be coming back over and over again. They wouldn't be trusting us in all of their pets, recommending us to their friends, because up until the moment, I think the number of pets spaying and neutering their cats and dogs is increasing in numbers, which for me is a good sign of active participation of the communities.
Doc Gab also explains the difference between the terms spay and neuter and clarifies which procedure is more challenging.
Technically speaking, it's very different in terms of the technique and the time needed for the spaying and neutering. And for the first-time pet parents or people who might be watching or listening to us, neutering is the term for both gender. Okay, so that's for male and female. However, we have a specific term for male, that's castration, and then spaying for female cats and dogs. As for the technique, it's really much easier to do male cats and dogs because it doesn't involve opening the body. For spaying, you really have to look for the ovary and the uterus, and sometimes there are some problem that you would see that would make it difficult for you to do the surgery. So in terms of a complexity, it's really more complicated to do spaying or weaning the female cats and dogs.
He notes that neuter is a general term and is not exclusive to male animals.
It's a collective term for the removal of the gonads or the organs of the cats and dogs to prevent them from multiplying.
In Filipino usage, kapon is likewise a general term that may refer to either male or female cats and dogs.
When you use it in chickens, it's a different term. So talagang very complicated ng veterinary practice. But so let's focus first and let's focus on cats and dogs na lang.
Within the scope of his advocacy and service, Doc Gab also shares that there have been many instances when people approach him seeking free kapon services, unable to afford even the already low-cost procedures.
We've encountered multiple times, not only on the events, but also in our clinics. And to our social media team, we've been receiving a lot of requests. But I always tell them that we have to know our limitations. If we'd like to sustain, we would like to reach more people, we have to know that empathy and kindness without boundaries might breed entitlement, and it might also make them less responsible pet parents because they will not be doing their part. However, if for some reasons, and usually it's happened to us in most of our events, our vets, kasi pag wala ako dun, our vets should decide on their own. So one thing that we do in terms of our clinic services, we have installment basis for payment. Treatment now, pay later. So you just have to pay for whatever money you have. At least there's a contribution, you know that you didn't get it for free. Because we would like to really teach them that having a pet is a responsibility. You cannot get it for free. But there are people who are willing to help you. But you have to do your part. So for most part in our clinic, we do that treatment now, pay later. You just have to pay for a very, very small cost of whatever money you have. At least you have contribution on that. On the kapon event, whenever there are people who will reach out to us, come to the event without payment or money, our vets have 20 free kapon slots of their own, which they have the freedom to give it for free when needed. So what I always practice is giving people the authority on their own, making them fulfilled, not only working. Because when you give them the authority to help, that will also make them more into and inspired to do the work. And in most cases po, we do subsidy din naman. Like for example, we have kapon events in a community, like in a certain barangay. We really give them a slot of free kapon, basically to really thank them for being our partner in their community.
For those who prefer clinic-based services, Doc Gab's Pet Partner operates in 2 locations, one in Gapan, Nueva Ecija, and another in Commonwealth, Quezon City.
We have 2 clinics right now. We have one clinic in my hometown, that's in Gapan City, Nueva Ecija. The other clinic is here in Quezon City. It is located at the Rock Lifestyle Hub along Don Antonio Drive, along Commonwealth. I attend clinic on Monday and Tuesday. Depending on the situation and the case of the patients, I am focused more on the complicated cases. But whenever I'm free, I always often visit.
Have they faced complaints or criticisms in the past? And how were these addressed? Doc Gab speaks candidly about the struggles and challenges his team has encountered as a result of making kapon procedures more accessible and affordable for low-income Filipinos. In the Philippines, spaying and neutering services at private veterinary clinics can vary widely in price. Low-cost clinics and welfare organizations offer procedures from roughly 700 pesos to 2,500 pesos, depending on the animal's size and gender. But private clinics often charge significantly more, with neutering typically starting around 1,500 pesos and spaying sometimes reaching 4,000 pesos and above. These higher costs place the procedure out of reach for many pet owners without subsidized options.
I think that's really part of, when you are doing something good and you are doing something impactful, you know that it's impactful when there are nerves that you are being touched, or there are people who are uncomfortable with what you are doing. Because based on my experience and current growth, I've realized that what we are doing right now is non-traditional. Usually, kapon is being done in a clinic at a high cost, and it should be only done whenever, they have the capacity to do it. However, because of being non-traditional, giving it to the people in a more accessible way, in a more convenient and affordable way, a lot of problem arises from conflicts and politics. So we are being questioned on why we are putting the price that low. And we are also questions about the compliances and the permits that we currently have. Because when we were starting, even way back last 2 years ago, there was really no proper guideline in the LGU on how you are going to accommodate a certain veterinary team wanting to provide this kind of veterinary care. So that was our first struggle. Good thing, they released a guideline, and that was when the path became clear, and we were able to really expand. Because I was also hesitant at that, I think 2 years ago, to really reach out to communities because I don't know their rules and regulations. So that was the first struggle. Right now, I think one of the biggest struggle that we currently have is not more than the supplies, that it is increasing and lacking sometimes. It's more of the people's awareness pa rin talaga. There is still people who still believe that kapon is not safe. There are still people who believe that it's cruel to them. They believe that only male or female should be kapon. It's just one gender. So I think that's the biggest problem still at the moment, educating the people of how important it is and why it is a vital part of animal welfare and responsible pet parenting.
Sadly, some individuals still believe that spaying or neutering pets is cruel, revealing the need for sustained and effective information campaigns that educate the public on animal welfare and responsible pet ownership.
The logic of these people is that when you remove their organs, for example, the male dogs, they wouldn't be asking for a partner, and for them that's cruel because you remove or you change their normal behavior. They cannot understand the fact that these animals are no longer in the wild and that they are dependent now on the people around them, and for survival in the community, and also to avoid conflicts with other dogs, avoid diseases that are sexually transmittable. It's very important to really practice this. And also, we have to really make them understand that the resources to support animals are very scarce. And there are very, very few people who believe that they should be part of the community. Having more community animals spreading across different communities would promote more abuses because that's access already. So we really wanted, aside from educating the people, we have to also limit the increasing number of neglected community animals.
Adding to these challenges are natural calamities, as well as misconceptions from some sectors that view their work as competition within the animal care field. Still, Doc Gab remains grounded in an advocacy that goes beyond business considerations, focusing instead on the impact on community animal health and welfare. This approach continues to make a meaningful difference in the communities they serve.
One of the things that comes to mind whenever I encountered that question was calamity. That's very, very difficult because that is something out of our control. For example, we already have a list of activity coming in tomorrow. However, may dumating na bagyo and binagyo yung isang venue and people are already waiting and they already fasted their pets. So it's very hard to really reschedule because the schedule is very tight and how the availability of the people matching our availability is very, very complicated also. Those are the things that is out of control and sometimes it happens at the time when we are already on the venue. Imagine how stressful that is habang ginagawa namin yung kapon umuulan and the pets are lying and recovering, so we have to find a way. So that's one of the biggest problem, calamity that is out of control. Second, nandiyan din po yung mga, again, politics and complaints that I always tell them na you have to see what we do as something na kasama ng community more than competition in the different businesses. Because I have to be honest with you, Ma'am Rochelle, I've been in talks with a lot of clinics and there are many clinics who are saying na it's a conflict, it's a competition between them and that the business is being affected. But I always go back to my statement before na they are in the community for 24/7 in 31 days in a month. The capacity and the opportunity to earn is limitless. Unlike kapon that we only visit once or two in a month, wherein we help the community and definitely we have to sustain. So we need to get something from it. But again, it's not a competition because we are not there. We are not present in the community all the time. And if only we can do that, we will do that because we see that what we do is not after the money. It's more of the continuity, the effect of it, impact of it in the general public. Kasi animal health is a public health.
Doc Gab shares that in areas where similar low-cost kapon services are already available, his team does not see the need to step in. Instead, they focus on communities that lack access to affordable animal care. He hopes this approach is viewed not as competition, but as a collaborative effort to expand animal welfare services where they are needed most.
I think it's more of like, it is non-traditional. You know what? People usually tend to refuse something that is new because not because they are greedy, but because they are unable to accept the changes. Lifestyle changes, practice changes, and a lot of things. So I would like to see them on the perspective that it is not the usual thing that we do, but this is what is needed at the moment because for the longest time, there was no option like this. And we are being the options that they have. And I hope they see it as a positive thing that the people who really wants to do it. It's just that it's not accessible, it's not affordable, it's not safe for the way they see it. And now we are making it in a different perspective. And I hope, I really always think about that, they see it as an opportunity to also contribute. That, again, like what you've said, if you can provide it on the same amount of price and the same quality of service, I think we don't have to visit them anymore. Kasi ang like ko sinasabi din po sa team, if there's a group like Mandaluyong, we never visit Mandaluyong kasi there's Biyaya and PBBCC. So if there are access for this kind of service, why should we visit them? But the reason we visit the community is because despite of many clinics, the access for this kind of service that is very vital, not only for the pet parent family, but also the community is scarce or in most cases, absent.
This work is physically demanding. What keeps Doc Gab going despite the exhaustion and pressure?
I had that question when I was interviewed in a national TV din before, and I always say this very frankly. I feel like I'm not working. I find my ikigai in what I'm doing. Ikigai is, I think it's a Japanese term, meaning to say the sense of living or the purpose of living, your reason for living. Ikigai is divided into, I think, 3 or 4 parts: doing what you love, doing what the world needs, and doing what you're good at, and also you can be paid for, because it sustains you, it sustains the community, it sustains the world. So that's how I see the organization that I currently have. It is something that I really love doing, because way back when I was a student, I really am active with community social work, and I continued doing this after I graduate until I really practice it at the moment. Also, I really see the need for this, especially when we did the pro bono, that people are even interested to even pay for low cost as long as it's the same quality service. And third, I could see that I'm good at it, because not only that I'm a vet, but I'm also good at providing needs for the people, good at the surgery that I do. And lastly, this is something that can sustain the organization, provide work for the people, and giving them the reasons to do things. Hindi siya nakakapagod kasi whenever you wake up, it's not something that you would always say na, ito na naman. It's more of like, ito na naman, more of a positive thing. Because despite of all the challenges, criticisms, you always go back to your core values on the reason of doing things. If that is not clear to you, if you are not deeply rooted to that, that's when exhaustion arises. But for me kasi, it's living na it's a life, it's a way of living already, not just work.
What personal sacrifices has he made in pursuing this advocacy, and does he have any regrets along the way?
Way back when I was starting the organization, I was really at the crossroads of making decision between creating this organization as a social enterprise after the pro bono activity or work, or going to Canada. Way back during the pandemic, I had the opportunity to work in Canada as a vet also, being supported by the employer in Canada. However, I always felt that there is something that I haven't accomplished yet. And that was when the time when a lot of rescuers reaching out to me that there are no vets in Manila, that they need this and that. And then I said, I keep on doing this until I can. And then dumating na po sa point na nakalimutan ko na yung isang opportunity sa Canada, and then I found myself already creating the organizations. So that was the opportunity that I would say I let go, but not a regret. And last thing na I always also mention to many vets na this work will really take away your opportunity to get more skills as a vet. Kasi you have to do it daily. You have to do kapon every day. And if you wanted to learn something new, you have to live this opportunity, these skills, this work. So I sacrifice years of possible experience learning new things to continuously doing the boring stuff. When you say boring, it's a daily activity. Pero for me, boring is a good thing. That's what sustains the activity, that's what sustains the community, that's what sustains me. And I have no regrets on that. I would say opportunity, something that should be yours will never pass you by. So I think that's really not for me.
Until when does he see himself continuing to bring mass kapon services to communities across the country?
I would, the Pet Partner Philippines would continue to exist for as long as there are kittens, puppies that are being neglected on the streets, and as long as there are pounds being served as the garbage area for the neglected puppies and dogs or other animals. So the only time I think that Pet Partner Philippines would not be engaging in much of activities is when the gap between the number of animals to be rescued and the number of people who need or who will be rescuing them will be very, very thin. To the point that every animals have a home that would take care of them, where they can celebrate Christmas, holidays, and they have food on their plate, and they have a home that is loving, caring, and capable of giving them what they need.
DOC GAB and Pet Partner Philippines ensure that every Mascapon event goes beyond the procedure itself. Each activity includes an animal welfare information campaign with a strong focus on responsible pet ownership, proper animal care, and the long-term importance of spaying and neutering within the community.
What we really do is, aside from the online registration form wherein there are it includes all the guidelines, we also do the pre-surgery assessment and guideline, of course, debriefing. Even after the surgery, we do the post-debriefing, highlighting the importance of kapon, how to take care of them, and the effect of the kapon to the community in general. So we always incorporate educating the people because that's part of our key pillar and values.
Doc Gab closes with a call to action, urging the public to do their part, even by simply sharing accurate information on responsible pet ownership or parenting. Because when it comes to animal welfare, responsibility is shared by all.
For everyone, to all pet parents, and for those who wanted to become pet parent, and for those who are not yet a pet parent, but maybe sooner or later, I would like to share this with you that the animal welfare problem in the Philippines is still big. We still have a long way to go. And it is a shared responsibility between our leaders, our community, and we as private individuals. Because our country is less privileged and I would say developing at the moment, it is very important that we do compromise. We do our part, but at the same time, we demand accountability for people, for our leaders, and for all the communities who are not accepting animals as part of them or as part of the community. So I would encourage everyone to do your part, to do a very small impact, even by sharing posts, by educating your friends on how to properly become a pet parent, a responsible one. That would be enough. You don't have to spend money to spay and neuter your pets. You don't have to have a pet if you cannot or you're not capable of. By merely using a social media account and spreading that animal welfare is a shared responsibility and we all can do something about it, that's already a big impact.
Doc Gab's story reminds us that animal welfare is not just the responsibility of veterinarians, the government, or animal welfare organizations. It is a shared commitment that starts with informed, responsible pet parenting and community action. Through Pet Partner Philippines, Doc Gab proves that meaningful change is possible when compassion is paired with action. Thanks to Doc Gab for his non-traditional dedication to animal healthcare. This has been Rochelle Rubio. Join me again next Friday for another episode of The Advocates, simulcast via Mega Manila's 104.3 and digital channels.
This is where the voices of the voiceless are heard. The Advocates, Empowering Voices. Hosted by Rochelle Rubio on Capital 104.3